So let's try this again. And there it is. James decided that this was most certainly not a time to be disagreeable. So he crossed the room to where the centipede was sitting and knelt down beside him.
Thank you very much. You are very kind.
You have lots of boots.
I have lots of legs and a lot of feet. 100 to be exact.
There he goes again, the earthworm cried, speaking for the first time. He simply cannot stop telling lies about his legs. He doesn't have anything like 100 of them. He's only got 42. The trouble is that most people don't bother to count them. They just take his word. And anyway, there's nothing marvelous, Centipede, about having lots of legs.
Poor fellow. He's blind. He can't see how splendid I look.
In my opinion, the really marvelous thing is that to have no legs at all and to be able to walk just the same.
You call that walking? You're a slitherer, that's all you are. You just slither along.
I glide, said the earthworm primly.
You are a slimy beast.
I am not a slimy beast. I am a useful and much-loved creature. Ask any gardener you like. And as for you...
I am a pest,
the centipede announced, grinning broadly and looking around the room for approval. He is so proud of that, the ladybug said. Though for the life of me, I cannot understand why.
I am only a pest in this room,
cried the centipede, still grinning away.
Unless you count old green grasshopper over there, but he is long past it now. He is too old to be a pest anymore.
The old green grasshopper turned his huge black eyes upon the centipede and gave him a withering look. Young fellow, I have never been a pest in my life. I am a musician. Hear, hear.
James, your name is James, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, James, have you ever in your life seen such a marvelous, colossal centipede as me?
I certainly haven't. How on earth did you get to be like that?
Very peculiar indeed. Let me tell you what happened. I was messing about in the garden under the old peach tree, and suddenly a funny little green thing came wiggling past my nose. Bright green it was, and extraordinarily beautiful, and it looked like some kind of tiny stone or crystal.
Oh, but I know what that was. It happened to me too, said the ladybug. And me, Miss Spider said. Suddenly there was little green things everywhere. The soil was full of them. I actually swallowed one, the earthworm declared proudly. So did I, the ladybug said.
I swallowed 3. But who's telling this story anyway? Don't interrupt.
It's too late to tell stories now. It's time to go to sleep, the old green grasshopper announced.
I refuse to sleep in my boots. How many more are there to come off, James?
I think I've done about 20 so far.
Then that leaves 8 to go, the centipede said.
22, not 80, shrieked the earthworm. He's lying again. The centipede roared with laughter. Stop pulling the earthworm's leg, the ladybug said. This sent the centipede into a hysteric.
Pulling his leg? Which leg am I pulling? You tell me that.
James decided that he rather liked the centipede. He was obviously a rascal, but what a change it was to hear somebody laughing once in a while. He had never heard Aunt Sponge or Aunt Spiker laughing aloud in all the time he had been with them. We really must get some sleep, the old green grasshopper said. We've got a tough day ahead of us tomorrow, so would you be kind enough, Miss Spider, to make the beds? Chapter 13. A few minutes later, Miss Spider had made the first bed. It was hanging from the ceiling, suspended by a rope of threads at either end, so that actually it looked more like a hammock than a bed. But it was a magnificent affair, and the stuff that made was shimmered like silk in the pale light. I do hope you'll find it comfortable, Miss Spider said to the old green grasshopper. I made it as soft and silky as I possibly could. I spun it with gossamer. That's a much better quality thread than the one I use for my own web. Thank you so much, my dear lady, the old green grasshopper said, climbing into the hammock. Ah, this is just what I needed. Good night, everybody. Good night. Then Miss Spider spun the next hammock, and the ladybug got in. After that, she spun a long one for the centipede and an even longer one for the earthworm. How do you like your bed? She said to James when it came to his turn. Hard or soft? Oh, I like it. I like it soft, thank you very much, James answered. For goodness sake, stop going around the room and get on with my boots, the centipede said.
You and I never going to get any sleep at this rate. And kindly line them up neatly in pairs as you take them off. Don't just throw them over your shoulder.
James worked away frantically on the centipede's boots. Each one had laces that had to be untied and loosened before it could be pulled off. And to make matters worse, all the laces were tied up in the most complicated knots that he had to unpick with his fingernails. It was just awful. It took about 2 hours. And by the time James had pulled off the last boot of all and had lined them up in the row on the floor, 21 pairs altogether, the centipede was fast asleep. "Wake up, centipede," whispered James, giving him a little dig in the stomach. "It's time for bed."
"Thank you, my dear child,"
the centipede said, opening his eyes. Then he got down off the sofa and ambled across the room and crawled into his hammock. James got into his own hammock, and oh, how soft and comfortable it was compared with the hard, bare boards that his aunts had always made him sleep upon at home.
"Lights out,"
said the centipede drowsily. Nothing happened.
"Turn out the light,"
he called, raising his voice. James glanced around the room, wondering which of the others he might be talking to, but they were all asleep. The old green grasshopper was snoring loudly through his nose. The ladybug was making whistling noises as she breathed, and the earthworm was coiled up like a spring at one end of his hammock, wheezing and blowing through his open mouth. As for Miss Spider, she had made a lovely web for herself across one corner of the room, and James could see her crouching right in the very center of it, mumbling softly in her dreams.
"I said turn out the light,"
shouted the centipede angrily. "Are you talking to me?"
"Of course I'm not talking to you, you ass,"
the centipede answered.
"That crazy glowworm has gone to sleep with her light on."
For the first time since entering the room, James glanced up at the ceiling, and there she saw a most extraordinary sight. Something that looked like a gigantic fly without wings, at least 3 feet long, was standing upside down upon its 6 legs in the middle of the ceiling, and the tail end of this creature seemed to be literally on fire. A brilliant greenish light as bright as the brightest electric bulb was shining out of its tail and lighting up the whole room. "Is that a glowworm?" asked James, staring at the light. "It doesn't look like a worm of any sort to me."
"Of course it's a glowworm. At least that's what she calls herself. Although actually you are quite right. She isn't really a worm at all. Glowworms are never worms. They are simply lady fireflies without wings. Wake up, you lazy beast."
But the glowworm didn't stir, so the centipede reached out of his hammock and picked up one of his boots from the floor.
"Put out that wretched light,"
he shouted, hurtling the boot up to the ceiling. The glowworm slowly opened one eye and stared at the centipede. "There is no need to be rude. All in good time."
Come on, or I'll put it out for you."
"Oh, hello, James," the glowworm said, looking down and giving James a little wave and smile. "I didn't see you come in. Welcome, my dear boy, welcome, and good night." Then click, and out went the light. James Henry Trotter lay there in the darkness with his eyes wide open, listening to the strange sleeping noises that the creatures were making all around him, and wondering what on earth was going to happen to him in the morning. Already he was beginning to like his new friends very much. They were not nearly as terrible as they looked. In fact, they weren't really terrible at all. They seemed extremely kind and helpful in spite of all the shouting and arguing that went on between them. "Good night, old green grasshopper," he whispered. "Good night, ladybug. Good night, Miss Spider." But before he could go through them all, he had fallen fast asleep. Chapter 14. We're off at last," someone was shouting. James woke up with a jump and looked about him. The creatures were all out of their hammocks and moving excitedly around the room. Suddenly, the floor gave a great heave as though an earthquake were taking place. "Here we go," shouted the old green grasshopper, hopping up and down with excitement. "Hold on tight." "What's happening?" cried James, leaping out of his hammock. "What's going on?" The ladybug, who was obviously a kind and gentle creature, came over and stood beside him. "In case you didn't know it, we are about to depart forever from the top of this ghastly hill that we've all been living on for so long. We are about to roll away inside this great, big, beautiful peach to a land of what? Oh, never you mind. But nothing could be worse than this desolate hilltop and those 2 repulsive aunts of yours." "Hear, hear, hear, hear." You may not have noticed, but the whole garden, even before it reaches the steep edge of the hill, happens to be on a steep slope, and therefore the only thing that has been stopping this peach from rolling away right from the beginning is the thick stem attaching it to the tree. Break the stem, and off we go. Watch it, cried Miss Spider, as the room gave another violent lurch. Here we go. Not quite, not quite. At this moment, continued the ladybug, our centipede, who has a pair of jaws as sharp as razors, is up there on top of the peach, nibbling away at that stem. In fact, he must be nearly through it, as you can tell from the way we were lurching about. Would you like me to take you under my wing so that you won't fall over when we start rolling? Oh, that's very kind of you, said James, but I think I'll be all right. Just then the centipede stuck his grinning face through the hole in the ceiling and shouted,
I've done it! We're off!
We're off! We're off!
The journey begins, shouted the centipede.
And who knows where it will end, entered the earthworm. If you have anything to do with it, it can mean only trouble. Nonsense. We are now about to visit the most marvelous places and see the most wonderful things. Isn't that so, centipede?
There is no knowing what we shall see,
cried the centipede. Here we go.
We may see a creature with 49 heads who lives in the desolate snow, and whenever he catches a cold which he dreads, he has 49 noses to blow. We may see the venomous pink-spotted scrunch who can chew up a man with one bite. It likes to eat 5 of them roasted for lunch and 18 for its supper at night. We may see a dragon, and nobody knows that we won't see a unicorn there. We may see a terrible monster with toes growing out of the tufts of his hair. We may see the sweet little bitty bright hen, so playful, so kind and well-bred, and such beautiful eggs, you just boil them and then they explode, and they blow off your head. A new and a neurosis, surely you'll see, and that enormous and horrible gnat, whose sting when it stings you goes out of the knee and comes out through the top of your hat. We may even get lost and be frozen by frost, and may die in an earthquake or tremor. Or as nastier still, we may even be tossed on the horns of a furious dilemma. But who cares? Let us go for this horrible hill. Let us roll, let us bowl, let us plunge. Let us go rolling and bowling and spinning until we're away from old Spiker and Sponge.
1 second later, slowly, insidiously, most gently, the giant peach started to lean forward and steal into motion. The whole room began to tilt over, and all the furniture went sliding across the floor and crashed against the far wall. So did James and the ladybug and the old green grasshopper and Miss Spider and the earthworm, also the centipede, who had just come slithering quickly down the wall. End of our reading today. We are back, and let's take a look at our agenda. Let's see here. All right. You look to the right there or to the left. We did our chapters 12, 13, and 14 today. You don't have to write full sentences here, just words that describe the personality traits of the characters: the centipede, earthworm, Miss Spider, ladybug, old green grasshopper, and glowworm. The centipede certainly has personality traits, as you can see. He's quite a character. For our spelling and vocabulary this week, we have poetry words, alliteration, assonance, couplet, hyperbole, metaphor, onomatopoeia, personification, refrain, rhyme, simile, stanza, and symbol. We'll be going through some of those this week. Our editing is Arrowheads in Space, a Native American that was an astronaut in the NASA program, took arrowheads to space. Oops, let's go back up here. Click down a little too fast. You have a slideshow to watch on types of sentences review and a quiz on quia. Let me know how many you got correct out of 20. Your independent reading. There's a book on Mac in Via that will be described on the ancient Greek part of today's daily lesson, and you can go and check out that book, Long Ago and Far Away in Ancient Rome. And there's 5 parts of it. I want you to look at parts 1 and 2. On creative writing and poetry, on Learn 360, copy this completely, paste it into the search box. It's a 42-minute video. You don't watch the whole video today. Just watch a little bit of it. It's a really fun video and goes into all the different parts of poetry and what makes up a good poem. You've got 3 really tough questions today, and you have to think through them because they're not easy. And we have the answers from last Friday there. Again, you have ancient Rome starting today. Oh, by the way, I threw in Mr. Nicky's song about ancient Greece. So you can look at Mr. Nicky and he will entertain you, of course. And it's based upon the song, It's All About That Bass, that was popular a couple years ago. Geography games again, family fun, fun fact of the day. And of course, you know, if you want to reread any of this, chapters 12, 13, and 14 are right there. But the announcement today, and then I'll open it up for questions, is this. This week, you're going to pick something that you've accomplished in online school or something that you've been doing at home during online school time, and you are going to share it with us. And we'll have 3 shares a day for the next 4 days, 3 or 4 shares a day, so that we finish everybody up in our homeroom this week. It can be in social studies, and geography, and writing, and reading, whatever you want it to be. And it can take as long as 30 seconds up to 3 minutes. So it's totally your choice. It's a way for you to share what you've been doing in online schooling. It can even be something that you did in Mrs. Dirk's room. So it'll be your chance to be on stage through the Zoom, and we will all be listening and watching you. Now I'm going to unmute everybody. Actually, you unmute yourself now and let me know if you have any questions about anything.
How is that even supposed to work, really? Because I don't understand that. Like, I understand it has to be 30 seconds to 3 minutes. But what do you mean when we talk about
You can
something?
have, let's say you wrote some really good poetry. You can screen share just like I did.
Oh, like.
And then you can read through your poem with us, for us. That make sense?
Didn't we already do, like, we had to write our own poem in one of those daily assignments?
Right, you can choose one of those poems and share it with everybody during our Zoom time. But it can be about any topic you want, anything that we've done in our online school.
We do like our ancient Greece project. Could we copy and paste that on?
Well, we already shared those. So that's the one thing you won't be able to share because we've already all seen.
I'm pretty sure you guys got the wrong one. Was it ancient Greece? Did you guys get ancient Greece 19 on yours? Because it was ancient Greece 15.
Anybody else have questions?
I don't have a question, but the walls in my room are green, so I'm happy.
I have a question.
You've got dolphins on your ceiling.
How are you doing that?
Well, it's decals that I already had.
Well, they're up there. They look like they're floating around. Who has a question?
Me. They do. It's really cool.
Zach, go ahead.
When will this end?
What will end?
Never. Oh, I know what he's talking about.
What, online school? Or the quarantine?
In quarantine, because I want to go back to physical school.
Yes, we will. I expect us to be back in physical school starting in August.
Yeah, baby. Not tight, because.
Wait, but I thought that the rest of the school year we're gonna be.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's till the end of May.
Back. We may start
School will
back.
end like school will end like it normally does at the end of May.
Isn't there like 4 or 5 weeks left?
Yeah, we have another week. We have this week and next week, and then 3 more. So there's 5 weeks left. Yeah, including this week, including today. It's 5 weeks.
Do you guys see the Earth on my screen?
How did you do that? It's a green screen.
It's in me. The Earth's in me. See,
No, it's not a
the
green.
Earth is in me. Look, you're gonna see the Earth in my hair.
Oh my god.
But Christian
That's so cool.
looks weird. And his eyes are blue.
Hey, is Zoe here today?
No, she's not for some reason. Oh.
Graham.
What?
Graham, why is your name Steve?
Yeah.
This is my daddy's computer.
That's his dad's name, right? You can change your name, Graham.
I don't think my daddy wants me doing that.
No,
You can change it back.
Graham.
Graham, it only changes it for
This
the
meeting.
Zoom time. It doesn't change anything on your computer.
And you could just change your name to Graham. Just change your name to Graham.
Click on your character. There's 3 dots at one.
Hold on it. Click on the. Hold on it. Click on the 3
Don't
dots.
hold on it. Just
I mean,
click
just
on.
click on it. Click on the
On the 3 dots, and then just change your name.
and then.
Okay, I don't know. I actually kind of like virtual school.
Chris, do you have any rooms in
All right, guys, we're coming up to the end of our 40 minutes.
Do you have any rooms in your house with green walls?
So everybody
No.
say goodbye to each other. 10.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
6,
See you tomorrow.
4,
Bye.
3,
Bye.
2.
See you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye,
Bye.
everybody.